everyone, and today we're going to be doing a book review of the Bhagavad Gita. This one is introduced and translated by Eknath Eswaran, or Eswaran. Sorry if I have butchered your name. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the Bhagavad Gita, which on the bottom of the book itself, it says a classic of Indian spirituality. Bhagavad Gita can be translated to the Song of the Lord. The book is about exploration of consciousness. In the book, there's a war going on, right? It's the Mahabharata war, and during it, there is a conversation between Arjuna, who is supposed to be represented as a human being like us, and he's speaking to Krishna, which is a representation of the internal divinity of oneness, right? And that is like God. So the whole book, again, to be, repeat myself, is a conversation between God and humans, and it's an exploration of what not only is consciousness, but the proper way of living life on this earth, in this illusion. So I'm going to go over some of the key elements that are within this book. Oh yeah, and before I do that, I'm going to let you know this book does kind of mention that we are a part of an illusion that is of God's mind, and that is what Maya is, and that is what we are in, and it's in his illusion that he has created. And it mentions that all experiences are all illusion, and that they are just what we perceive through our own nervous system, which I thought was quite interesting. And it was saying that life is kind of like a play, and we are just a bunch of units of consciousness moving around, experiencing each other and interacting with one another in this kind of simulation type thing that Krishna has created, again, because he was lonely. And this is all out. This part is not really in the book, but we are also here to evolve, and what is in the book is overcoming karma, and the only way to overcome karma is to follow these rules that I am about to recite. So the first is to mention that we should see ourselves as one, and the unity of one. So on page 29 of this book, it mentions the mind observes the world and sees separate objects in a framework, time, and space. Okay, so the illusion is not the world, but sense of separateness. The world is not the ultimate reality, but it is a dream. So that's also interesting, saying that we are a part of Krishna's dream, essentially. All right. Something that was kind of mentioned in the book that I have not seen before without, it's my first time not witnessing, but I guess being exposed to this kind of perspective, is that our awareness, the consciousness that is not our thoughts, our body, mind, any of that, the actual awareness of what's going on, the one that is aware, that is God. That's a fragment of the oneness, the fragment of Krishna. And so that's why we all have it. That's why all living things have it. And it's even mentioned in the book that non-living things have this as well. So everything around us in existence all has a little bit of God within it. And so that is why we're all one. That's how it all operates. But we're all getting to experience this, which is also God getting to experience the different personalities and interactions, because we have free will to do that. And so God is getting to experience it through our eyes as our witness. And so that, and you're able to access this. You're able to access that part of you that is connected to him, and that is through meditation, right? On page 143 of this book, it mentions, they worship me in the hearts of all, seeing all of life as God's manifestation. Again, part of his dream, part of his wanting to create other entities, because if he was lonely, now he has all kinds of different personalities from all over the place. And that's why I think overcoming karma helps you reunite with him. Reacting, through love, selflessness, helps bring you back closer to God. It's also like respecting and loving everything on this earth, including animals, trees, just being respectful to other people, everything. Because knowing that that is being respectful to God, because everything is a part of God. So you must treat it as such. Treat it as something to be holy, to be respected, to be loved, and to be seen as a precious jewel. On page 155, it mentions duality stems from attraction and aversion. Those free of wrongdoing have pure actions free from illusions. And so they mentioned that like illusions is between attraction and aversion. So either you're doing something because you want it and you're attracted to it and you want it closer to you and more in your life, or it's an aversion. You do something to get something away from you, makes you uncomfortable, it's stressful, whatever. So it's saying that if you're able to overcome the illusion of both attraction and aversion, and you just do as an act of service for others, selfless service, then you can overcome that. Then you can be free of the wrongdoing, and that's how you have pure actions, is not having any kind of selfish motivation behind it. That's what pure actions are. On page 177, we have the quote, "Those who worship me with love live in me, and I come to life in them." I think that is another amazing, great quote. It's showing that if you are dedicating your life into becoming closer to God and the oneness, being full of love and doing good deeds, selfless acts, then you will be living as God lives, that pure happiness and joy and being at peace and not feeling shaken by any trials and tribulations that life brings. You're just becoming that observer and that giver and that part of life. The next thing that the Bhagavad Gita covers is the importance of selfless acts. On page 56, it says that everything is for God. Keep that in mind in everything that you do. Have your intention to be serving God, and it's part of being a part of his love and radiating within that and sharing that, radiating it out as well, within and without. On page 63, it says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So it's not always just actions, it's also thoughts inside your head, even just thinking it. If it's something negative or selfish or wrong, that is still just as bad as doing the deed, is thinking about it is just as bad. On page 90, it mentions, "Those who are unaffected by pleasure or pain are truly wise and fit for immortality." Again, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, not going towards desires or aversion. It's being indifferent to pain and pleasure, and in that way you will truly be pure in all your actions and closer to God within that. Line 106 says, "Do your work with the welfare of others in mind." Always have the welfare of others in mind in whatever you do. Again, it's not about the welfare of ourselves, keeping that in the forefront. It's about having the welfare of other, because the other is a part of the self, it's a part of the oneness. On page 127 of this book, it mentions the goal of knowledge and the goal of service are the same. Service and meditation are both important, but service is the most important. So it's important to take time to meditate and spend time with God and within yourself, trying to find that oneness. But that is also with self-realization as well. But it is even more important to serve, to work, to do things for others, to have action, because being in stillness it's good for connecting with God, but it's not as potent, it's not as strong as doing good. Doing good is being a part of God, being a part of his love, instead of just witnessing it and realizing what it can feel like and do. It's also becoming it and having that action behind it. It's saying that is more important. On page 130, it says, "Not being affected by good or bad, but the joy through spiritual awareness." All right, so just everything, no matter what happens, it's having more spiritual awareness in what you're doing. It's feeling more connected. Every act that you do is to become closer to God, because it's to serve him, right? It's to serve other. And then on page 140, it says, to such people, dirt, stone, and gold are the same thing. Okay? We're just as happy with everything. We're not bothered by good or bad. We're not swayed. Everything is a gift from God. Dirt, stone, and gold are all equally beautifully made through God. The book says they are disposed to family and enemies, those who support or are hostile alike, because they are impartial. The next important thing that I feel like the Bhagavad Gita hones in on is the importance of meditation. So on page 26, it mentions that meditation is always for the sense to separate ego, to separate yourself from ego, letting it dissolve, and to go beyond time and change. Because as you are meditating, you are having no sense of self, you're having no sense of time, you're having no sense of wanting to move anywhere, or any sense of desire. It's about letting go of all of that and just being there. Just sitting in the silence and being there. Now, on page 44, it mentions the mind creates diversity. Guna is the strands of the veil. Okay? That's part of the veil that's over us, where we think that there is diversity and that there is no oneness. We're all separate. But when mind's activity is stilled, which is what happens during meditation, we see life as it is, right? That's a part of seeing how life is and how it feels. Honestly, I feel like meditation is a really great way to hone in on how we should interact within life. The way that we feel the calmness, that we are the indifference, and just being at peace and knowing that you're part of that oneness and just being calm within that is really how we should be going about day to day, even in adversity and everything else. Is just part of that. Being able to keep in that way that life truly is. It's taking that veil off. It's knowing that everything else is part of that illusion that's made up these interactions, and taking the veil off. That we're all just this beautiful light of oneness that is a part of God. Okay, so on page 136, it says it's telling you, giving you advice on the position that you need to be in to meditate. So sitting with your neck and back straight prevents sleepiness and allows the flowing for energy for Kundalini. And so what Kundalini is this dormant energy that is where essentially our pelvic bone is, or it's kind of lower than that. It's like the root chakra, where the root chakra is. There's a lot of dormant energy there. And so when you have Kundalini awakening, then what it does is allows it to flow up into where the third eye is. And that is what allows for spiritual awakening and enlightenment. On page 158, it mentions focus on your devotion to God at death, as you did while you were meditating. So they mention that meditating every single day will help ensure that God will be the last thing you think of death. It's like meditating is a way to practice thinking about God, thinking about that love and that oneness. And so if you're doing that every single day, it's more ingrained in your brain. It's more fresh. It's on your mind more as you're going about every single day. And in everything you do, it'll be more on your mind. And so that's why meditating is so important. And it's also very important to think about God as the last thing before you die, because of our devotion to Him. And then so that's kind of what the Bhagavad Gita is going toward. It's we're here to serve Him, devote our lives to Him. And that is devoting our lives to everything on this earth through love and selfless acts. And so that's why, that is the last thing that should be on our mind as we pass. And that's going to bring us closer to Him. It did kind of lightly mention that it also kind of gets us out of the karmic cycle. I don't know if that's 100% foolproof or how any of that works per se, which is why I didn't want to go too much into detail on what the book had mentioned about that. But it because I'm not fully sure I fully understand it, and I don't want to misrepresent this book. So I'm more representing the information that I had read and felt like I understood to enough of a degree to share it. But so that's why I'm like, I always encourage you guys to read these books as well. I don't ever want to misrepresent. This is more just like my readings and what I took from it. So there is a little honing in from my perspective. So it's, but I do try to keep it as impartial as possible, like just saying it how the book says it. But I am adding my own commentary, which is kind of, and I'm reading these specific lines that are out of the context of the whole paragraphs. So again, that's like, you guys are getting somewhat of an overview, but I always encourage to read the book yourself for deep. If this book review, and I would say if it intrigues you enough, and you're like, ooh, this is an interesting topic, this is great, and you have the time, and you're curious enough, then that's when I definitely encourage to read the specific book. Otherwise, if you like listen to the book, if you're like, you feel like you got enough out of it, or you're just like, that book doesn't really pique my interest, then you don't have to read it. So yeah, that's just bringing all that out there. So on page 245, it says, it's giving us a mantra that you can say during meditation. It's Om Tat Sat. So Om is the cosmos sound of Brahman. So we commonly hear that where we try to find meditation, they go, right? You find your resonance. That was not my resonance, but you kind of find your resonance. And there's a Teal Swan video where she teaches you how to do that. You kind of go higher and lower, and then you find, in the middle or wherever you feel your voice naturally wanting to rest on. So you'll go, oh. So that's my resonance. And it's the sound of the universe. The sound of Brahman is the creator. So the cosmos, the sound of Brahman. So just feeling like that. It helps with your vagus nerve, I believe. Might want to fact check that one. But tat means that, which is the supreme reality beyond what language can describe or think. And sat is that which is good. And I also have another little note that says tat could also mean to give selflessly. A worthy deed. That is a worthy deed. Giving selflessly is what a worthy deed is. Expecting nothing from it. Which is a part of that reality that's beyond what we can think or what language can say. And it is all that is good, a truly selfless, worthy deed. Right? And then it goes into, so we're going to go ahead, I'm going to end the book review on things that was mentioned in this book, of things to avoid, things to not have in your life, do not be this type of person. This is not the way we want to go. Okay. So on page 235, it says the demonic personality is atheistic, grounded in biology instead of God. Low view of human nature, wrapped in selfish desires. Give to only look good. All right, so it's not actually giving to be selfless and loving. It's giving to make themselves look good. They'd be like, hey, I'm giving. On page 236, lust, anger, and greed are the 3 doors to hell. Do not enter. And lust includes not only like just sexual lust, but it really is about lusting after things, desire. Page 239 says the demonic are bound by scheming and anxiety, driven by anger and greed, and they get money by any means at any cost and hoard it. Okay? They hoard unnecessary money. Page 240 mentions, they say this wealth is mine, and that will be mine too. I destroyed my enemies. I am rich. Who is equal to me? I give gifts and rejoice in my generosity. I'm self-important, and I'm envious of everyone. Because you're looking at what are you lacking? What are you, it's constant comparing. It's like caring to that degree. So even though these people think they're fulfilled with their life, having all these riches and, thinking that life is just whatever's in the physical realm and enjoying, the luxurious like food and, hooking up and everything else, is saying that is not going to bring true happiness in the end. You're always going to have these envy thoughts, these envious thoughts, this thought of like wanting more, not having this lack, and this anger that builds up and gets to you easily. And so you're not going to feel peaceable and happy at all inside. You're going to feel very unrested. And what that's going to essentially lead you is back, another karmic cycle, back to earth, and, just dealing with situations that are coming to teach you lessons about things that you haven't overcame yet, and it's going to be hard. So, these are the ways of life that we want to get away from. This is not how we want to live. We don't want to feel that way. We want to feel like we're a part of God, and we're feeling that love and that caring and not comparing, right? And so I'm going to end this with the life's goal of thinking, and that was on page 209. Okay. I am love. I'm not agitated by the world. There is no competition nor fear. I have detachment, and I'm pure, efficient, impartial, never anxious, selfless. I don't seek pleasure or run from pain. I do not grieve, nor do I lust, but I let things come and go as they happen. All right, so it's all about, letting it go, letting it come and go as they happen. That can be with feelings, it can be with life situations, or even like difficulties, happiness, all of that. You let it in, you let it pass through. It all just comes and goes and flows like a river, okay? Whew, just take a breath. To me, the Bhagavad Gita is a very amazing book, and I truly recommend reading it. I got so much more out of it than I originally thought I was going to. I really, really enjoyed this book. I would even consider it one of my favorite books at this point. I can't really say that until I reread it 100 times, right? But so far, I've had really, really enjoyed reading this book. It's really opened my eyes and got me thinking about my life, thinking like, am I really doing these actions selflessly? Am I truly living a pure life by God? Am I meditating enough? The answer to that one is no. But yeah, I feel like it's a good, eye-opening awakener, and kind of making you think about, why you're doing things and how you feel about, life in general. So I'm trying to be more purposeful in my actions just from reading this. So it's a lot of amazing words and quotes in here, and there's even things about you're loving God, but it also mentions that he's gonna destroy the earth eventually, and it's just like knowing that, being aware that these karmic cycles aren't going to continue forever. He'll eventually swallow the earth up whole. There's like a quote mentioning how God is like a light, he shines his way, but he's also a fire, right? And he will he will eat earth with time. It'll go into his mouth of fire. But doesn't mean there's not going to be another future reality. I'm pulling this has nothing to do with Bhagavad Gita, but I'm just saying there's no, there could be I'm pulling this more from Thomas Campbell. There could be future realities that are yet to come that are more efficient in evolution for, as he calls, the big computer, which is what they're calling the oneness of consciousness. So, I truly believe that could be a possibility as well, that this will continue as long as it's effective. But as soon as, the earth continues to go, if it does go in a downward spiral and just gets worse and worse and worse, eventually, it could easily just get eaten up whole, and a new reality time frame, or a new reality, new dimension of reality could be created that is more efficient at evolution and growing. So yeah, who knows how it all works, but I'm trying to figure it out just as much as you. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any other comments of what you got out of the book, if you've read it, feel free to comment below, and I'm excited and hope to see you on the next book. Keep reading, guys. Bye.